Good morning, guys, and welcome to the Let's Talk Morning Show with me, John, and Dennis. This is the show where we like to focus mainly on wrestling, but we'll obviously jump into the chat and see what's going on as well. But we're going to mainly focus on wrestling. Good morning, Kevin. And yeah, how about those Knicks last night? Never could imagine them winning a game in Boston, but we did. So that's nice to see. The Islanders, for the hockey fans out there, got the first pick in the draft. See
Yeah,
how
they
they
sure
waste
did.
that.
That's one of my buddies, Islander fan, texted me and said, "We got the first pick." I said, "Congrats, just something new for you to blow next year."
When the most famous thing to happen at your arena is when the opposing team's player breaks the goal record. Uh, you're not known for too much.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
At least recently, they did win 4 cups in a row, which they'll remind you.
Yeah, which is funny too. Another one of my friends, Islander fan. I'm like the only Ranger fan in the friend group, and every time we talk about it, they're like, "When was the last time the Rangers won?" I'm like 15 years after the Islanders' last one. So I don't think you want to go historical like timeline.
That's an argument you're going to lose every time because we can't change history.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they win one playoff series in 20 years or something crazy for a while there.
Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs for a long time, and then when they finally did, they didn't make it out of the first round forever, and it's been a long journey. I mean, almost as long a journey as the Knicks, but I will agree. When I saw Knicks Celtics, I was like, first of all, New York Boston, classic sports rivalry in every sport,
Yeah.
and to go into Boston is huge.
Yeah, and take the win, man. It's crazy. I
Yeah,
never would have expected that. I was just writing that game off already, but you know what? That's why you don't do that. That's why it's sports. And
yeah.
to answer this question, my next 4K review. So the next one I'm doing is actually not till next week. I'm working this week on doing them. I'm doing Blaxploitations Volume 1, and for Fistful of Dollars should be here soon too. So that'll be out next week. Those 4K reviews, and probably hopefully one of the Friday the 13th as well sometime. And then what is this question? What was your favorite of the Clint Eastwood 4Ks? Dirty Harry. That was my favorite. I thought that was great. And good morning to you too, Mr. Smelly Potato. Thank you for showing up. And now to just dive into some wrestling talk. And then obviously, guys, at 9 o'clock, when Dennis gets off, we'll do the giveaways. So if you're a channel member, we do the channel members giveaway today. And we also do the weekly digital code giveaway. But we're here to talk a little bit of wrestling because we got Backlash coming up this Saturday. And we'll start with SmackDown. What'd you think of SmackDown overall?
I think it's good. I think that we're in a good spot in terms of what goes on. I think there's a lot of nice little undercard feuds going on. We obviously have one of the most badass US champions on the show, which is good because I realized this morning, John, and I didn't think about it. When John Cena said that he was going to ruin wrestling, I never thought he'd bring us back to the missing champion.
Oh my God, that's the thing and you noticed it yesterday too. It's frustrating.
Yeah, he's bringing us right back to the days of Brock and even Roman being part-time champ, having the belt, and just showing up twice a month. I was thinking like it used to kind of hinder the card, but I think this time WWE's planned it well because obviously we have the LA 19 Priest stuff. We can dive into the tag stuff in a little bit. I know that's something you want to talk about.
I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of undercard stuff going on that I think is carrying the show, even with the title being absent.
It is. And I mean, you still truck Randy Orton out there to just cut a killer promo, which I felt like he could just do in his sleep at this point. So it's almost like a safe bet. Like, okay, you can carry this part of it. And they keep putting in those little video packages of John Cena and Randy Orton, which I'm really enjoying going back to.
Yeah, I love that stuff. We could touch on that first too. I feel like Randy is at that point. I feel like every time we talk about Randy, I just say that this is his having fun phase of his career where you could tell he's just enjoying what he's doing. He's going out there and it's stuff he likes. And I love callbacks and the fact that he dropped that line, that you said you're the greatest of all time, but you're just another legend I have to, kill. He's legend killer again. I know he dives into that well here and there, but every time he does, it's so great.
It is great. And everyone, it's just the callback at this point now. The callback to that. Still probably the best phase of his career, I guess, as far as being on top is when he was the legend killer, I would say. But remember with I forget about the stuff where he's talking about all the bad stuff that John Cena does. Somebody pointed out all the stuff that Randy Orton has done to John Cena. Like I forgot he punted his father. I'm like, yeah, kind of hard to forgive that.
Yeah, It was an accident. He was just walking by and accidentally kicked. Yeah, no, but you're right. I mean, the turnaround is funny because, but it's funny when people talk about Cena too. They talk about even when he was a good guy, the things he's done. Like, remember, I think it was he was in like the I Quit match with Batista, and Batista said I quit, and then he still gave him the attitude adjustment, like
Yep.
off the ambulance or off the stage, whatever. I don't remember which one it was, but like he did a lot of heel things too, even as a good guy. So he's not innocent.
No, but that's like the Hulk Hogan of it all too. Like he was able to do heel stuff and get away with it too. Like cost like just throwing Psycho Sid out of the freaking Royal Rumble. Like that's a heel move. That's not something a face would do.
Yeah, but then they just play it back to like they're justified for whatever reason. It's like maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, the only way you could justify it is if like Sid put out a gun and like shot somebody.
And we know only Brian Pillman draws guns on wrestling shows.
Exactly. It was a one. Stone Cold did once too, but it just wasn't real.
Oh yeah, that was funny. And then Vince peed himself.
Yep. Classic Raw moment. Then took the
Yeah.
stunner as usual.
Oh, horrible. Worst stunner ever.
Yeah, no,
Every
the
one that
first
Vince ever
stunner he
took.
took was the worst one ever.
That's true. Maybe the last one too.
Oh, the last one was bad too.
Yeah, so he started horrible and ended horrible. He's consistent.
It is, whereas The Rock always consistently got better.
Yeah. But yeah, so I know otherwise on SmackDown, two guys I love LA Knight. I know you love Damian Priest. They had a little spat in their feud there that unfortunately follows just every single televised match and ends in a no contest.
Yep, which we sort of saw coming. I actually like that they focused right on the United States title as they opened the show and just showed LA Knight walking by like backstage and then coming out to his entrance. Thought that was really cool. The match itself was great. Yeah, but of course we have to end it in a dusty finish and set up, which they would later set up the Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, which again is fine. And when we get to Raw, it happens again. And I was thinking about it. It's, to quote the one of the greatest wrestling YouTubers of all time, Simon Miller.
He is the
It's the
greatest.
he is, yeah, easily the greatest. It is the law of diminishing returns. He says that a lot, and they do this so much that you just expect it. And now, like, even though doing it this way helped to set up a fatal four and didn't, in theory, it should have pushed the story forward, they do it every single televised match. So it's like, let's just skip this and just like have them yelling at each other backstage. We don't need to waste this time because it's at this point like you don't even care about the match because going in, all right, well, someone's coming out to ruin this. So what's the point?
Yeah, I mean it's just like unfortunately the Raw title match when they announced that I'm like we already know how this is going to end just based on the two superstars that are in it.
Yep, yeah, because God forbid anyone ever just wins or loses a match. It's impossible. Yeah, and these are two guys. I mean, listen, they act like this is the UFC, and when someone in the UFC gets knocked out and is on the ring, the thing like that, and the fans are like, "Ooh, he's done," and they kind of give up on him. This is wrestling. Like LA Knight could have beat Damian. Damian could have beat LA Knight, and they would have been fine. They could have come out, cut a sick promo the next night or on the next show, and kept moving it forward. Like it doesn't have to be no one can win or lose.
No, and you could just have guys lose and you got the better of me that night. Like they're selling even on Raw last night how Jey Uso never beat Gunther until WrestleMania. Like that's fine. That means that he just always got pinned, right? I mean, I'm sure that there's some kind of wrestling loophole in there where he's probably like won or lost by disqualification 46 times. But I'm just saying you can sell it as like, oh, he's never gotten the better of him. So now this might be the time because he's a good wrestler. He's beating this guy. He's beating this guy. It's okay to have wins and losses. We don't have to have a disqualification finish every single time.
Yeah, and it just constantly pushes it, and I think when we get to Raw 2, we can have there's one match in particular, the Io Sky match, the way it ended clean in a really cool way too, I might add, which we could talk later. But it was just a clean, good match. They wrestled very well. It was very entertaining. Clean win for the champ. And then in the post match angle, they did the run in and the assault and all that stuff. That's great. That's different. It doesn't ruin the match. It doesn't take anything away, win or loss. It's just a good match and it makes your champion. I know this one with LA Knight, Damian Priest wasn't a champion versus, non-champion, but even still, it's two guys like, listen, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. if anyone knows that better, or no one knows that better than LA Knight and Damian Priest. Those two
Seriously.
guys have lost a lot, and they're still fine.
Yeah, I mean, they both just they actually sell it at the beginning, saying how they both lost at WrestleMania, and now they're trying to avenge their losses at WrestleMania, and one of them's going to get a loss. They bring up right in the beginning. Well, not true.
Yeah, as it turns out, it was a waste of time to watch that match because we're just going to save this for the next big event.
I did like how they set up the Fatal 4-Way though backstage and basically sold it as, I guess they're trying to plant some seeds between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Like, you're not really doing. You could have been a triple threat, but now it's a Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, yeah, no, I like that. And I think Solo, unfortunately, has kind of been lost in the shuffle here because he very quickly went from one of the most interesting characters. I remember when he was in the Bloodline, when he debuted, people were like, "Oh, Solo's the guy to watch. Solo's the guy to watch." And then as soon as he took over in his fake tribal chief gimmick and everything, like as soon as he brought Jacob Fatu in, spotlight went to him. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes people just have that kind of, they say, the it factor. And I think that's Jacob Fatu has that it factor. And ever since he's debuted, he has been the focal point, and it has not looked back.
And unfortunately, I mean, for the other three guys, because I don't even think about what's their names. I don't even
Like
remember the other
Tama
two.
Tonga and all those guys.
Yeah, and Tokaloka, whatever their names are. But
Tongaloa.
Tongaloa. I always just get their names,
Tokaloka.
but like those two guys, when they came in before Jacob, like they had this like initial run, but Jacob has just overshadowed them all, and it's because, like you just said, it's the it factor. And Solo, he's a good wrestler, but you got to do more than mean mugging and wearing like video game bad guy gloves. Like it just doesn't work. So you got to move on from that and try something a little bit different because he can wrestle. So you can just try and figure. But Jacob, man, I don't know what it is. The Samoan werewolf gimmick, like this, how aggressive he is. He always looks like he's genuinely scary and mad. So it's hard not to sell that guy. And then his matches, of course, are just so fast paced and energetic for a guy his size. It's incredible. He does just have that it factor of like where I could see WWE's like like falling in love with the guy.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, the fans are falling in love with him too.
I love
Even
him. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, me too. And even when he was supposed to be a bad guy with Solo, and all he would yell is "I love you, Solo," the fans would yell "I love you, Solo" with him just because he was the guy saying it. Like he's so over, and it's crazy that Solo now has been passed. Like you could argue that he was a bigger deal in the bloodline than the Usos at the time because people were so excited for him. But now Jay has clearly blown by him. Jacob Fatu has clearly blown by him. So now, like the remnants of the bloodline, like I guess not everyone can go on and become the next big, the next big thing in the industry. But kind of the scraps left behind are Jimmy, Solo, and then Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Those guys, they're all kind of like, well, they were in the bloodline for a minute and it was cool, but now we got nothing for them.
Which is a shame. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like, recently also we haven't touched on since our show was all the releases that happen. Like when people get lost, that's eventually how they get released. It's not really their quality of work, just when you lose them in the shuffle, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and that it happens. I mean, Braun Strowman released for what, the fifth time in 3 years. That guy gets released and brought back more than anybody.
Yeah, I know. They just like they bring him back when they need him and then they release him. And I forget he's around half the time, which is a shame for a guy his size. You should not be forgetting about Braun Strowman.
No, I agree. But that brings us to some guys who I think are safe from being released, and that would be the team you texted me about and said, let's save it for Tuesday.
Yep, because last week we were talking about how there aren't tag teams that WWE is building up. Well, they're building up a brand new one in Faxium, and I love these guys.
Yeah, they were also. I actually remember watching them in NXT a few years ago before they were a team. I think Axiom was doing his own thing in like a tournament. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. I hope, and then they paired him up, and they've been so good as a tag team. It's one of those situations that I think we talked about, and it's funny because I had said, like, I hate when they just mash two guys together that don't fit. But they mash these two guys together and they fit. And dude, they are phenomenal as a tag team.
No, they're so unique as a tag team. Like they look like they were a tag team, even though like one wears the mask and one doesn't. It's just very unique. And then of course they actually seem to have pretty good promo skills as far as what I could see so far. They're going up against Pretty Deadly, who, very unique ring attire, but they can wrestle as well. So they were like the perfect opponents to show off Faxium. They were really there just to put Faxium over. And I thought the match, the way they move, is phenomenal.
Dude, that finishing that they do, the Spanish Fly, Phoenix Splash, like they just everything they do is great. And here's a perfect example: Pretty Deadly, a team that comes in, they just lost the match clean. Do you think that that means that next Friday when they come out to wrestle someone, people are gonna be like, nope, I'm not interested.
No, because they're a true tag team, and maybe they get their win back over somebody else. Who knows? And then you forget all about it.
Yeah, and that's why, Fraxim needed the win just to keep momentum up. Pretty Deadly are the bad guys who can lose and then cut a silly segment backstage about how, oh, well, our hairdresser didn't do the right thing, so we had bad luck that day, and people will laugh, and they're right back on the train and invested in the next match.
Yep. We need tag teams like that. That was a pure tag team match between two tag teams. Perfect. Perfect place on the card. Energetic, fast paced. Because one thing I noticed about SmackDown, I just felt like the matches that they had were great.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing that was the Aleister Black Miz thing that I, want to chat because I absolutely love Aleister Black, and I was devastated when he was released years ago, and I cannot be happier that he's back. We talked about finishers, how Sweet Chin Music is such a great one, Stunner, RKO. His Black Mass, dude, has to be one of the best finishers in the game. The way he lands it every time looks like he kicked that guy's head off.
It does. And it was the perfect guy to be in the ring with. That's a guy who could just always lose and it's no problem. Is the Miz. And because the Miz was also a good seller. He's just like the guy, truck him out there, sell Aleister Black. And that was it. We got to see Aleister Black do his thing again, reintroduce him to the audience. Also, I love he's still selling the eye injury. That's always pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, again, long-term storytelling. That's what matters.
He leaves and comes back. Like I guess he went to the abyss as well.
Yeah, but I was very happy that he's there, and then actually that piggybacks nicely into the Zelina Vega thing because
Mhm.
last I knew they were still together, Aleister Black and her, and that's someone who talk about like earning your way. She was nothing. She was basically, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but she was basically a jobber for how many years until she finally wins that women's US belt.
I know. She was nothing. I mean, she just stayed on the roster too for so long. Like, and you're like, huh, it's weird how she's still kind of getting over, but she's just kind of like and thinking that she would end up like what's his name from years ago, Zack Ryder, like kind of like always on the roster but never rising above anything but a glorified jobber. But you got to worry also about when they give him the belt, like that's like a reward. But we still don't really care. But I feel like we're in the Triple H era, which is a little bit more respectful towards the wrestlers now.
Yeah, and I feel like people do care. When she won, it was a nice moment. Now that she's champ, I hope she gets a couple, really solid title defenses, because and when I say that she's been a glorified jobber, again, not disrespecting her, she's a great in-ring talent, and obviously fans love her because she has stuck around this long, but it's more that she paid her dues. She sat there, she did exactly what she was asked to do. She went out there and lost every single night for years. And now finally they're like, you know what? Thank you. Here you go.
And she's putting that title over well too, which is good. They are concentrating because I was watching this with my wife Faith, which Faith obviously,
Mhm.
but don't know if everyone else does. But we were watching the show, and she's like, "There are so many titles," and I was trying to explain, like, "Yeah, but they try and keep them separated. It does get a little confusing sometimes if you're just a new fan because sometimes they'll still put like the main storyline, even if it's SmackDown related, on Raw."
Yeah, and I was thinking about that with the bigger title, right? Like they try to have this divide: women's US, SmackDown, women's IC, Raw, men's IC, same thing, men's IC, Raw, men's US, SmackDown. Then they have the separate tag belts. They even divide the women's. There's the women's World Heavyweight, and then there's the women's Championship, separate shows. But it's weird. The WWE Championship, when Cody Rhodes was champ, like the World Heavyweight title was a Raw belt. Cody just went everywhere. His
Hmm.
story was on every show.
Which is a problem when you're trying to sell the world title, because I can go back to, like, I remember specifically when they first did the brand split in 2002 and they separated the world title and the WWE title. There were times the world title seemed bigger than the WWE title, but now they try and make it always seem, and I get it, that's the name of the company, but it's still your other titles. So you should try and make them as equal as possible. And the only way you can do that is making sure that they stay on their separate shows. Like, I get it. You feel like Cody is the biggest star, but then when you sell it like that, it makes the other people seem smaller. And I think that's exactly why Gunther versus Jey Uso felt like a smaller title match compared to the actual main event.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is like with the deals they have with Netflix and with USA and all that, how much of that is when they sign those deals to broadcast the shows, did they say, well, we want Cody on our show? Well, we want Cody on our show. That equals ratings. And so they're kind of forced by these contracts to have those guys go. But I agree. Like it should, the only reason that if that's the case, it happened is because you built this one belt up to be more meaningful than the other. When, back, like you said, Triple H is like forever attached to that original big gold heavyweight title on Raw with Evolution and all of his feuds. And those were huge feuds. Meanwhile, the WWE title was like Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, all those guys on SmackDown. There were times the one on Raw felt bigger. There were times the one on SmackDown felt bigger. But it should be a seesaw like that because the belts should be equal. They shouldn't be one that's clear. Okay, this is obviously the better. Like if you said, oh, Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso, title versus title, like in a steel cage, there has to be a winner, no shenanigans. You're gonna pick, even though Cody Rhodes isn't champion anymore, you're gonna pick Cody because they built him to be a bigger star than Jey.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like that's kind of how you set it up. Although, I mean, Jay really is very over. It wasn't until like I've noticed it before, but just yesterday when he came out, the crowd just absolutely loves Jey Uso.
Yeah, I'm happy for him too. Another guy who he didn't pay his dues quite like Zelina because he won a lot, obviously, because he's been tag team champion 150 times, and he's been over since him and his brother painted their face to look like the Ultimate Warrior and did their Samoan dance. All the way to their really awesome transition into the bloodline gimmicks and being more, I guess,
Human?
themselves. And he's come a long way. And you're right, the crowd loves him. I mean, he's over. I just hope it sticks and he has a good run. I don't want to see him lost in the shuffle here because right now he's kind of tied into a feud with Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Logan Paul is on the outskirts looking in. Like there's a lot of really big name people, and I'm worried that he's going to become the afterthought champion. Like, oh yeah, and Jay is also defending against so and so.
They've kind of parted the seas for him with the Logan Paul feud. Like I think like the way they had it set up yesterday is to separate into Rollins versus Punk and maybe Roman shows up. But that way you could separate them from what he's going to be doing for the next couple of months, which I imagine will be something with Logan Paul until they build up to SummerSlam, which he might lose at SummerSlam if I had to guess.
Yeah, which again, short title reign. But I guess it's funny, like it's very cyclical where you want something so bad. We were originally, I mean, years ago, you remember, we were in the hot potato era where people were champion for 2 weeks and then someone else won and then someone else won. And it was like the title didn't mean anything because it was just win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, back and forth. And then finally we land in this era where it's nothing but long title reigns. And it's almost like, okay, but we need to find an in between here. Like everyone who wins the title can't be champion for 3.5 years.
No, it just can't be that way. And we did it once, and like because now people also start to see the pattern of guy wins at WrestleMania, guy loses at WrestleMania the next year, new champion holds the title for you. Now you got to still kind of have some random title changes. Like I wouldn't have been surprised yesterday if the title changed hands. I just kind of knew what was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. But I wouldn't have been surprised if like they kind of used Jay as a transition champion just to get it onto Seth.
Yeah, and I feel like that's another, I don't know, like it's a shame to have that happen, but especially with the big belt, I think the smaller ones, the IC belt, the US belt, those titles, they should have them change hands. And I think they should have them change hands randomly. Like it shouldn't be, like when LA Knight was US champ, he was battling Shinsuke. He lost to Shinsuke, then won it from Shinsuke, then lost to Shinsuke. I think it should just be like right now you have, like Lyra and Becky for the women's IC belt. Becky wins it, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later on Raw, she loses it to Roxanne Perez, and then Roxanne loses it back to Lyra, and then Lyra, like, have more people sprinkled in and win the belt. That'll make it more surprising and a little bit more entertaining. I'm not saying it has to be a weekly thing where the belt is dropped, but I think they would they could benefit from a little variety. Instead of it just being champion loses, champion gets the rematch and gets it back. It should be champion loses, and then all of a sudden some random person comes in and wins it and separates farther from that champion.
Yeah, they should actually build up number one contenders for those titles, like where there's actual, in the intercontinental feuds right now, you can kind of see what they're building up, like with the implosion of the Judgment Day, and I think that's leading up to like eventually Finn versus um, Dominic over there on Raw. But on SmackDown, there's a lot of people competing for both of those secondary men and women's titles, and I like that. And finally, it looks like they're actually building up the SmackDown tag scene. So SmackDown overall kind of feels like it's just a, I don't know, more focused show.
Yeah, I would agree. And then the only other two things on the show we didn't touch on was Rey Fénix getting a win.
Great match, by the way.
Oh, phenomenal. I love the Rey Fénix. Santos Escobar, another great in-ring talent. I think, unfortunately, he's just kind of lost in the shuffle a bit right now, and he's finding his way. They've been trying, like I said, with the LWO, his Legado del Fantasma thing is just not getting over. People are just not about it.
It's a shame he can cut a good promo.
He can, and he had a really good thing where he turned feud against Rey a while ago and had really great matches with Rey. I think he needs to separate from that team and find his own way. And Rey Fénix, obviously awesome. I think it's really weird. For WWE to bring both of those guys in, Penta and Rey, have them on separate shows, literally just to bring them back together as the Lucha Brothers is really stupid. I think they could have saved Rey Fénix Jr. for a bigger pop and just had him save Penta from the Judgment Day or something, and boom, Lucha Bros right off the rip. But it's fine. He's putting on great matches. I think those guys are going to flourish a lot with the AAA thing.
I think that the thing with Penta is the way they're talking about on Raw is I think they want to push Penta as a single star, and I think they still want to Rey Fénix. So right now, I think they're trying to keep them separate for that reason.
Yeah, I could see that, and they're good separate. I think I do, not to knock Rey Fénix, love him too, think he's great, but I think I see Penta as like a world heavyweight champion, and Rey Fénix could easily be IC champion or US champion. Definitely a mid-card guy, but upper mid-card, because he puts on phenomenal matches and people love him. So let him ride that wave,
Yeah, Penta just got that extra check mark with the gimmick and the entrance and everything. Like Rey Fénix just feels like a little less than version of Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, and I feel like that's happened a lot with, and this is not knocking any other luchador that's ever come into the business, but Rey is just the best. Everything about him is just awesome. He's got one of the most iconic mask designs. He's always had awesome entrances. His matches have always been incredible. Even now, like, the guy just defies time. Like, he's in his late 40s, maybe even 50 at this point.
And then one thing he could always do was he could speak English and Spanish. Like, unfortunately, you usually get one who could just speak one or the other.
Yeah, and that I think helped him a long way too, because his promo ability was better. He could cut a little better. He didn't have as thick an accent. He didn't have to cut in and out of English and Spanish, which, sounds messed up, but, it's heavily an English-based promotion. So that's a huge, huge asset to have that. So I think a lot of guys who come in without some sort of gimmick like Penta, because Penta, you could say he's just another luchador, but his mask and the way he paints his mouth and his whole getup and it's different. It's a darker version. Whereas Rey Fénix and all these guys, I mean, it doesn't help. His name's Rey, so that even in talking about him, when I say, "Oh, and Rey had a good match," I'm like, Fénix. I have to preface, I have to make sure I'm talking about Fénix.
Yeah, because everyone's mind's gonna go right to Mysterio.
Yeah, so I think that hurts him a little bit. There's another guy too who's in the LWO. I don't even remember his name, and he's another masked luchador. Don't remember his name. He's wrestled with Rey a handful of times, and I no clue who he is.
That's the thing we got to worry about with the AAA guys is that those guys don't get lost in the shuffle. Which one of those guys is Alberto Del Rio that was going around yesterday, which is always interesting. He just always comes and goes.
Yeah, well, he's got a little bit of a criminal history that I think WWE will look at.
Yeah. And I don't know if he's actually officially coming back. They put the story out, and then I read later on that that's just the contracts they acquired. It doesn't mean they'll actually use them.
Yeah, I imagine he'd be one they don't.
No, I don't think so. But that's a guy who me and you, when we were watching, we watched that initial push for Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, and I remember hating him then.
I never liked him. Never once thought that. And they wanted him because they always tried to replace Rey. They always thought he was getting too old. Meanwhile, the guy still wrestles in his 50s.
Yeah, that's what like is just, and I wonder how much of that was not a Triple H thing, it was a Vince thing because obviously Ray's back now having great matches, but it's sad because I mean, listen, Ray went on and did awesome stuff in AAA and in Lucha Underground, and he's done a lot of other really cool independent scene stuff. But imagine they just accepted the fact that this guy is going to be able to go for the next 15 years and just kept him on the roster. Like, would have been a different story.
Yeah, that's oh, you're right. It's a Vince thing because Vince did that so much in the past too. Like when he wanted to move off of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, he would just start like or even Bret Hart in like '97. When he's done with you, he's kind of like just done with you. He just thinks he's thinking in the future and replacing you. But it's almost like he would throw money out the window. Like these guys, just because they're in their mid 30s or early 40s, like you're done. It's like that's
Yeah, and
kind
the
of messed
sad
up.
thing is,
Like this is pro wrestling. It's not like the UFC. Like these guys, as long as they can take the bump, who cares?
yeah, and the sad thing is, like, think about his logic, right? He's like, all right, Hogan's too old, and people don't care about Hulkamania. What his thought process was, who's the next Hulk?
Yeah.
So then he finds Ultimate Warrior. And then it's like when Brett leaves, who's the next Brett? And who's the next Ray? Instead of being like, who's just the next star? He's always trying to take the guy who was in the spot first and just find a younger version of him. But it's like, dude, at that point, just keep the guy you have. He's already over.
Yeah. Why are you trying to do the work? Like you tried to put Lex Luger over as the exact same gimmick as Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's like 8 years older than him. And if you don't and if you don't have the creative mindset to see like, okay, well maybe I should change the character around because that's what they do now. Like Eric Bischoff, say what you will, but like he was smart to make Hulk Hogan a heel because that changed his entire gimmick for the 1990s and let him go right back to the top and not get lost. And you should be able as a creative to see that or at least try it.
Yeah, yeah, you would think, but they never do. And for that reason, they pushed Ray out and constantly. I mean, they brought in Ultimo Dragon, they brought in Sin Cara,
Oh my
11
god.
different versions of Sin Cara.
Love the
It,
entrance. It just never worked.
no, no, that was cursed from the get-go. So they just try and try and try, and no one can replace Ray. He's the man, and you can't do it.
Yeah. And that's why Penta feels different. He feels unique. Like he actually is his own character. And they can recognize that. They know what they got with him because look on Raw yesterday, they talked about his new entrance song with the guitar, which sounded badass.
Yeah, dude, he's getting that push, and I hope it leads to something now because this Judgment Day thing is getting a little stale.
Hmm.
Which before we dive into that, the last part of SmackDown with Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton.
Liked it. I'd liked it what they're doing with that. Naomi's new heel gimmick is definitely working. They need to do with Seth if they want him to be a heel like they're doing with Naomi and just change the song because her song was very popular as a face, but you can't have it when she's a heel.
I agree. And I think it's good for her. She deserves this push. And I think she's doing good with it. I like it. I am pretty surprised with the push of Jade. I'm not surprised, and I am with Jade Cargill because I know obviously when they signed her, it was 100% all in. She is the future. And listen, she's got the look. She looks like a superstar, but in matches, I've seen moments of how green she is, and I hope she continues to improve, but I think she's rocket to her back straight to the top, and I'm worried that she's a little too green.
Which honestly, it shouldn't be like that anymore because she had that big AEW run, and then she came here, and it's been about 2 years with like they're like training her, and I assume that's what she's doing all week. And it still feels like, and even in a match like this, like she's in a match with three professionals who, a lot like Ronda Rousey back in the day, they have to work around her limitations and then still make her look good at the very end because this is the person that the company wants to get over.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my concern. And listen, she is clearly a superstar. She's got the look, she's got the entrance, she's got the aura, the personality. She definitely has everything it takes, but unfortunately, we've seen this with a lot of people. The thing that they come up short with is not the most important, but the foundation of it all, which is can you actually go in the ring?
Yeah, exactly. And she can do the moves and make them look powerful enough, but she's still not great at like actually in the ring and wrestling from move to move, making I guess you can call them chain moves look like she actually makes it all look clean and natural. She just doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's not fluid, you know, it's
Yeah,
not.
that's the word, fluid.
Yeah, it's just, you know, you can, and even not this past SmackDown, prior to, I think she faced Tiffany Stratton in a one-on-one, and there were a couple moments where like they went for Irish whips and it was a little awkward, and you know, Tiffany thought, you know, I guess the spot was supposed to be like a clothesline and a duck, but it didn't really, you know, it just didn't. There are a couple moments, not major. Listen, it's, I'm not saying train wreck, you know, pull all support from her because I think she can get there. I just think right now there's moments that I'm like, that I don't think that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, and it happens a lot, unfortunately, for her. And I still like she does look incredible. That's the thing. It's like if they can actually master that, unfortunately, it just feels more like a Goldberg type of thing where you had to keep her out of the ring and put her in like short matches and just put her over like that and have that be a part of her because when she goes for too long, you start to see the faults in the foundation.
Yeah, yeah. Which now brings us to Monday Night Raw. Let's chat about that. I know we were touching base on Penta. If you want to start with that Penta JD McDonough match and everything with the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I thought that was a great match. JD McDonough, despite having that ridiculously huge head on that body, is a great wrestler.
Yeah, he really is. I think he's probably the most underrated guy in the Judgment Day, and almost like, I don't want to say an afterthought, but almost an afterthought, just because, you know, Dominic obviously is so over in his bad guy persona, and everyone loves Finn. I mean, Finn, good guy, bad guy. He's just he's someone that you always want to watch. Um, I just feel like JD is kind of like the guy who's like, go out there and lose for us, but he makes losing look great.
And that's his job. I mean, he does it very well. He's very good, like, when he gets so angry, like, I like that stuff, like, that's kinda like his persona, which is, like, the opposite of Dominic, because Dominic's just so laid back now in his character. He's just so naturally over right now that he's overshadowing the Judgment Day, but I'm hoping that this whole thing with Finn Balor and everything is leading to the reemergence of the demon in the right way.
That would be sick. I mean, that would be awesome if, you know, maybe let's say, well, I guess they haven't announced anything for Backlash yet, right? For Dom?
Like, because of Backlash we're gonna preview, do they only have 2 matches announced?
I think so, which like it's kind of crazy because it's this
Because I know they're not
weekend.
having a WWE World Heavyweight title match.
Yeah, so right now, as far as I know, it's Cena Orton
Yep,
and the Fatal Four Way
and Gunther versus
and Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee. Yep.
So it's three matches. So I guess there's got to be a women's match, right?
Let me I got the card right here. Women's Intercontinental Championship match is official. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch.
Okay.
United States Championship match, the Fatal Four Way, and then there's an Intercontinental title match that is official. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta, which they did bring up. I forgot about that, and Gunther
Okay.
versus Pat McAfee. So that's what 6, 1, 2,
All
3.
right.
Which is usual, actually. I would say now it's not like the Attitude Era where there was 12 matches and about 4 promos on the show.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's right. So I mean, that's fine. I just here like Penta's got to win, right?
Penta wins, or they do a dirty finish with the Judgment Day. Like it could, or does you know what it could be? What does Finn cost Dominic the title?
I think that's got to be it, right? Because you cannot have Penta come in all this momentum and just he's on kind of a losing streak, you know. I mean, not directly, but he loses. He doesn't win the Fatal Four Way at Mania. I think there was another Raw that he lost to Dominic. It was dusty and everything, but I'm pretty sure Dominic has a win on Penta already. Like Penta feels like as over as he was with the push, and as over as he can be, he's stagnant right now, and he needs to move off the Judgment Day. And I just feel like a loss to them doesn't help him move off. I think he beats him, maybe Dusty finish with Finn costing Dominic somehow, so then they could dive into that. Judgment Day moves along. Penta can then just go on having great matches defending the IC title.
And that's exactly what I hope they do because that's how you actually move guys out of title matches or title feuds is by having like now you set up the implosion of the Judgment Day, have that go on for the rest of the summer, and then just let Penta go with that Intercontinental title, just getting clean win over clean win after clean win over like some established stars, put on great match after great match, and that's what the Intercontinental title should be is that workhorse title.
Yeah, and maybe you're right. That leads to the Judgment Day thing. Maybe they do something where it's like Finn could have helped Dominic win, but he like messes it up and tries to play it off like, no, dude, it was an accident. I swear, I didn't. I'm so sorry. It wasn't intentional. And then that can kind of be a storyline here and there where maybe they like, let's go out there, we'll have a tag match together, and then Finn does it again and again and again, and maybe it leads to SummerSlam. They could delay it that long, and if they have Demon Finn return at SummerSlam, that's a 2 night event. They're treating it like Mania. I think that's huge.
Yeah, they are definitely trying to do that, and that is the perfect thing. Dominic Mysterio versus the Demon Finn Balor, and then he's another character that's just so over as a heel. He can take L after L after L like he has, and it's no problem to his character.
Yeah, and especially it loses to the Demon, and he'll cut some sort of promo, heel promo about it's not fair, and no one could beat that thing, and I was off day, blah 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 blah, and just move along, and he'll be fine. Like you said, he'll be totally fine. People won't even care that he lost.
Nope, it's perfect for his character because he's just so over no matter what. People just love the guy, which I love him too. I do love Dominic Mysterio. He's the perfect heel.
Yeah. Now, before we talk Becky, because I have a
Oh,
oh
I got some garbage to say about Becky.
oh boy, do we! I would like to touch base on Sheamus quick because I love Sheamus. That guy, he's great, and I'm happy to see him again.
Yeah, Sheamus is always one of those just like solid guys. Like, you talk about B plus players, like he's like an A minus guy. You can always bring him in. He'll give you like a great match because he's just so willing to take a beating and give a beating. He's one of those guys like Drew McIntyre, which is funny because they're like real life best friends who could just come in and just put on a great match in his sleep and it looks so real because they're just so big and strong. And yeah, Sheamus is one of those guys a lot like Randy Orton at this point now where he's just hung around so long. It's always fun to see him pop back up. Kind of forgot he was gone for so long.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think he's just, like Randy, like you said, he just kind of like he's in his kind of like good guy having fun phase where it doesn't matter what he does. He'll pop up, have a feud for 3 months, disappear for 3 months. People aren't like, "Where's Sheamus?" But then when he pops up again, you're like, "Oh, hey, it's Sheamus. That's cool."
Yeah, he's one of those guys that just, he'll never get released. He's just always in there.
Yeah, and
Being him.
that's sowing the seeds for.
Morning, John Doe Juggalo. Glad you can make it in here, buddy. We're just in here talking wrestling because it is Tuesday now. So anything like with the giveaways we'll be doing at 9 or after 9. So just keep you in the heads up.
Good update. They're
Thanks.
sowing the seeds for the split of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, which, to be fair, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I just don't care.
Oh no. No. I do not. Did they start playing these seeds around Survivor Series though for them to like split up? I feel like they just forgot about them and they're like, oh, we'll pick this up after Mania.
Yeah, and it's sad, and this is one of those things again, like we talked about with Jade, where you know you can't have part of the package; you have to be the total package. Austin Theory has the look, and he can go, but he's got no charisma and no character. And when he comes out, when he beat John Cena at Mania, when he won the US title, when he was good guy, bad guy, people just don't care.
No, it has to be organic. I'm glad we're away from that era of forced pushes because those were always the worst. Austin Theory was probably the last Vince McMahon pet project, and it just never ever worked. They tried so hard, but when you try and force a guy on people in both wrestling and in real life, it never works.
Yeah, and I think, and again, this is not meant to be mean and say like, he should be a released guy or whatever, because he can go in the ring. I think what you need to do is separate him from this Waller guy and have him just have him wrestle. Like have him have a couple good matches. Don't have him cut promos or do anything. Just let him come out, have a TV match against somebody random, not a champion or anything, and just let him perform. And I think eventually people will be like, oh, this guy's pretty good in the ring. Then you can have him start to do stuff, maybe whether it's face or heel. But what they're doing now is just not his whole gimmick, his song, his pose thing that he goes like this, like it. I mean, it's just the A Town thing is just it just feels not. I don't know. It's kind of run its course. People have not clinged to it. They don't cheer. They don't boo. They're just very indifferent.
Yeah, they are. And I got to be honest, so am I on it. I just don't care. Like do it, but you got to find a way to build him back up as a character, do something, change him around, take him off TV, and give him a new character or what. But he's just gonna end up like Curtis Axel, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly. Now with Sheamus, before we go into the garbage of the night, question for you. Does he finally get the long-awaited Intercontinental title reign?
If there's ever been a year, it would be this one, right? Because they've built it up so much. But then we just talked about Penta beating everybody. So
That
when would that happen?
Yeah, I mean, does it happen end of the year, Survivor Series-ish? Like maybe Penta drops it by then? I mean, if
Yeah,
Penta wins it at Backlash, he could drop it at SummerSlam, and then that champion at SummerSlam carries it until Survivor Series and has Sheamus win. They've talked about it so much. There's no way they let this poor guy end his career having never won it.
no, it's a lot like Sami Zayn and the world title. Like at some point, you got to like give the people what they've wanted to see. You've built it up so much, you can't just forget about it.
Yeah, so I'm hoping this year's the year. Might not be till the end of the year, but hopefully. And that brings us to what I believe might be one of the worst promos I've ever heard in my entire life.
I thought I was being fucked with. I'm like, this has to be leading somewhere, right? Because this is insanity. The amount of time she said garbage. Like she couldn't have like thought in her head like this was a good idea, right?
This is like she said, I took out the garbage. I took out the garbage. I took out the garbage, and you yelled at me for taking out the garbage. But guess what? I took out the garbage. And that's not, I think that's an exact quote.
Yeah, I don't know how many times she said that. I grabbed the garbage, I took out the garbage, and I'm taking out the garbage. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Where is this leading to?
And all of it was literally so Lyra could just say, you talk about recycling, you recycle everything. Like that's the burn that horrible, it felt like 15 minutes, but she probably only spoke for two. It was that bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they got to get with her. Like, I get that she's a heel now, but the way she's cutting promos as a heel is way too over the top. Worked way better last week than this week, and I mean, it's making Lyra Valkyria look great as in her own way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that sense it's working because she comes out and she handles her own. But I mean, Becky's making it easy for her, man, because she comes out and cuts that absolute hot garbage of a promo, and all Lyra
I'm
has to
glad you
do is
just
basically
confirmed
say
to
you're
me that it
done.
was bad. Like, because like I haven't looked at anything on the internet. I just like this is the first time I've talked about it. I'm listening to it. I'm like, am I missing something? Like, because this is horrible.
See, I looked at Brittany and I was like, is she serious right now? Like this is, and the way she cut it, like she was actually angry and like trying to be passionate about it, but screaming half a dozen times, probably even a dozen times. I took out the garbage, I took out the garbage, and then I took out the recycling. And you were mad that I recycled. But guess what? Recycling is just garbage. And it's like, is this elementary school learning about how to take care of your trash cans? What are we talking about right now?
Just made absolutely zero sense, and I don't understand why they did it. I'm hoping that that was so bad that that never happens again, and they figure out to get this back on the right path.
Yeah, right now it's brutal. And unfortunately, Becky has become, and I hate to say this, but she's become Charlotte.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Where it's been so long, and she's just doing the same thing. And I get they tried something new here with the heel gimmick and everything, but it just feels so forced at this point. And I was excited last week with this, but after that promo, I'm no longer excited.
No, I don't. And that's, I don't want to keep dunking on it, but God Almighty, anyone out there who hasn't seen it, don't even bother. It's not one of those like it's so bad you got to watch it. It's so bad you never need to see it again.
No, we're gonna pretend that one didn't happen. Put that in the trash bin.
Take it to the street and move along.
Yep, that's it. Because that was just pure garbage.
But that did take us to what I thought was a really, really good women's match, Io Sky and Roxanne Perez.
Yep, just two workers. And Io Sky, that's how she's getting over. Is just how good her matches are. Because right now she's still got the bubbly world title gimmick, and like how excited she is, and it's working for her. I do love her entrance song. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, she's got a really good entrance song. Her poses are really good. And again, more important than any of it, her matches are great. She is super entertaining. She's high energy the whole time. And I will say that Usually roll-up victories are lame. The way they did it in this one was actually really, really cool.
Yeah, it was a cool finish. I thought that it actually finally worked in playing with the and it was a clean finish. We actually got a clean finish as well.
Yeah, holy crap, what do you know? And that's what we were talking about before with the dusty finishes and everything. This one, EO pulls it out on like the 16th, 17th attempted roll-up in the chain of roll-ups, and cool moment. They shake hands. You think Roxanne might be good. Boom, Julia comes out and they ruin her.
Yep. And one thing about we actually didn't even talk about the very beginning, but they did the same thing as the opening promo where they played with like manipulation, and that just kind of feels like a writing room thing.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of recycling going
Yeah,
on.
the promo ties
Maybe,
into everything tonight.
yeah, maybe Becky had a point. I do feel like there's a lot of recycled things going on in terms of the different parts of the card. Every story kind of feels the same. There's not a lot of different, and I understand, this isn't like Attitude Era where, you have one guy who's, you don't have like a character like The Undertaker who's crucifying people. And then the main event title is two guys who are battling over Stephanie McMahon. And then you have the undercard, a guy who's in love with the mop. And like, you're not going to have that kind of variety, but just a little bit would be nice.
I know, because like I just immediately thought because the opening promo was great because it's Paul Heyman cutting a great promo,
Of
and then it's
course.
revealed, and they knew that they were going to do this, but like Michael Cole had to say it and drive it right in. Oh, he just manipulated it. He knew what he was doing, and then they go backstage, and it's like I love it when a plan comes together. I'm like, could have left it in the air for more than 4 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's very quick. And I don't know. I don't know what to think about this group. You know what I was thinking though? What would be really interesting to do? Because obviously we talk about the group with Seth. We talk about them adding members, right?
Hmm.
And Sammy's kind of involved in this whole thing. And maybe, just maybe, because Sammy is the good guy and friends with Jay offers him a title shot and Sammy loses. Maybe that's what Paul Heyman then uses to talk to Sammy and say, listen, buddy, we gave you a shot before and you betrayed us. But look at what happened. You tried to be the good guy. You tried to get out there and do it on your own. You couldn't pull it off against Roman in your own hometown or home country. And now you couldn't do it against Jay. With us, you could. And maybe Sammy gets the heavyweight title run as part of this group.
That would be awesome, and that they have kind of laid the groundwork for that. I do think that no matter what they're doing with Sammy, they are building up to him getting a title reign this year at some point,
Mm.
because just setting it up last week when he got destroyed by Braun and how when you go to SmackDown, you are the number one contender for the world title, and it's like that's all you've ever wanted. So they are building it up to where he's never won the world championship. So he's got to dethrone somebody. How he gets there, I don't know, because it's going to be a huge face pop. Do you make him win it in a heel way? Like, it would be crazy, but you kind of would ruin the moment, right?
Yeah, that's the only downfall that I have with the story. But I don't know who does he beat. He can't beat Jay then if it's unless face versus face, Jay loses and is happy to lose to his friend. Like
No, it
I don't
doesn't
think
work
that can
either.
happen.
I think he's got to beat Seth. It's just that Seth's got to probably take the title off of Jay at some point, and then Sammy's got to be the one to dethrone him if that's the way that they're kind of building it. It's just the group in general just doesn't. I don't know what to think of them. Like, are they faces? Are they heels? Like, what's the deal with them?
Yeah, I mean they're still pretty early on in it, so don't want to rush it or make it seem like they got to pull the trigger on things now because I feel like they rushed into this World Heavyweight Championship match too. Like I feel like that was just so quick to be like, oh, here goes. Like there's so many other ways they could have gone about it. Hurling him into the main event for the title was one that I was like, oh, all
You
right.
you basically gave away the finish because this is a Monday Night Raw 3 weeks after Jey Uso has won the title and he's very over right now as a face champion. Seth Rollins, you're not going to have him give away this big moment on Monday Night Raw of his, but it would make sense. It would definitely make sense to put the group over. If you want to put the group over 100%, having them take the title over one of the most popular faces right now would do it.
Yeah, it would. I just, I don't know. I think they should have focused more on planting the seeds of who else is going to be in the group than we're a main event group. Look, first week out, and boom, Seth has a title shot. Like, we can build to that. You should be planting the seeds, like doing maybe some recruitment stuff, show some clips backstage of Seth talking to people, Braun talking to people, like try to plant the seeds for who else is going to join this group, not just be like, boom, title shot, haha, here we go.
Yeah, no, that would be, and that's the problem. You can't have that. Well, what do they call that? A goose title shot, where you just demand it and you get it, where you just jump everybody in line. I
Yeah.
mean, we knew this. Like for some reason, Paul Heyman's got the extra pull anyway, to he can just get title matches for people.
Yeah, well, I mean, wouldn't you want to align yourself with him? Obviously, he's shown that everyone he's been, well, not everyone. We don't talk about like Curtis Axel in that kind of period of time, but or Ryback.
Oh my
But
god, I forgot he was with Ryback.
yeah, there's a couple Paul Heyman guys that shouldn't be considered Paul Heyman guys.
No, those were like, come on, can you try and get this guy over? He's like, I'll try. And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just a manager. I'm not a miracle worker.
Do you see
Um,
him?
yeah, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, it's so now that kind of brings us to the next thing because here we have the main event scene, right? Where it's
Mhm.
full. It's got Jay, Sammy, Punk, Roman's lurking somewhere, Logan Paul's lurking somewhere, Seth Rollins is involved, Braun Breaker's a little bit attached to it, and then we have Rusev, who is he a main event guy or is he a mid card guy?
He's definitely being put at the upper. It's funny, him and Aleister Black feel very, very similar to each other. One's on Raw and one's on SmackDown. They just came back from the same exact place. They're both being pushed pretty hard. Like I think that they end up in the Intercontinental and United States feuds more than anything, because that's just the best way to put them over. And I mean, they're pushing Rusev, man. He's got the new entrance. I love it. He actually feels bigger than he ever did.
Yeah, and he demolishes Otis, he ruins the whole team, the Alpha Academy, he just,
The poor
dominates
Alpha
everybody.
Academy.
Yeah, there you talk about enhancement talent, man. That's their bread and butter is I'm gonna come out here and fight you and then just get absolutely destroyed.
The whole team gets destroyed. They're basically big giant stuntmen. Well, not big. Otis is big, but not the other one's freaking what's his name? He's really tiny.
Oh yeah, Kira Tozawa, he looks like he's like 4'6", 90 pounds. But to be fair, people are gigantic who wrestle in WWE. So
Yeah, I think Rey Mysterio's my height, and he looks like a midget out there compared to everybody. And I'm like, I'm not that short.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Rusev can. I think the thing, and we kind of touched on it before, the thing about the World Heavyweight Championship is when Seth won it at he became the first one to win it. It felt like a big deal. And he said he was making it a big deal. But since then, it really has felt just like a slightly higher intercontinental title.
It is. It does feel that way. And that's like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast was how, when Cody Rhodes is the champion, he's on both shows. And even like with John Cena, he was the first guy out on Raw after WrestleMania, despite the fact that the WWE Championship is tied to SmackDown and the Raw title is what Jey Uso is holding. So you make it already feel like the WWE Championship is still your company's main title over the World Heavyweight Championship, which you really, when you do that, it just lessens all the superstars who hold it.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, right? And the bigger issue is that you have this, or it's almost like a double-edged sword because here's my problem with it. One, the belt feels less important, as we've been saying. But two, because it's less important, and I don't mean this in a mean way, it feels like Rusev could become World Heavyweight Champion because it's not the WWE. Like previously, those kind of guys were fighting for the belt that Roman and Punk and Cena and Orton and these like bona fide Hall of Fame superstars were fighting for. And it's like, yeah, Rusev can go and he's got a cool gimmick, but is he really the guy who's going to dethrone Roman Reigns for the WWE title?
No, he's not on that level. And that's true. It's almost like the elite wrestlers. There is that little subcategory of guys who are almost universal, the guys you truck out there to do all the press and everything. And unfortunately, there's just guys who hit a certain level on the card where they're just not that kind of guy when they win the world championship. Like CM Punk, Seth Rollins, special. They crossed over that Roman Reigns. They cross over that threshold. Whereas guys like Rusev, Aleister Black, they are the B plus players. Like they're very good. They serve their purpose, but I don't know if they ever cross over. But maybe if you think that the world title is like a B plus title, then you do kind of can put it on them for a few months.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better example of it being a lesser title than Gunther's run with it. I mean, if you put Gunther's heavyweight title run next to his IC title run, I think every single fan would tell you that the IC title felt more important. His matches felt more main event, and it mattered more.
Yeah, well, when you open up the world title since it's been on Raw, I thought about this, has opened night one of WrestleMania 2 years in a row. Doesn't feel like a main event title when the WWE titles closed out both. Actually, WWE titles closed out the last like 6 straight WrestleManias, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes it like it almost diminishes. And I'm not taking away again because obviously, these people fight and they scratch and claw their way, and it is a big title to win. But the way it's treated is very like, yeah, Jey Uso, we think you could be a world champion, but it's going to be this one. Like you're not the WWE champ. You're the heavyweight champ. Like, good job, buddy. It's
Yeah, and that sucks. But the thing is with Jey Uso, I think honestly having him be the world champion right now, no offense to Gunther, I think me and you we're the types of guys because we're just big wrestling fans who appreciate Gunther, but I don't think he gets over as much with the general crowd that like Jey Uso does. Like Jey Uso is honestly that perfect world champion for the moment because he's just over with not the live audience. Like he seems big when you watch him on TV.
Yeah, and it's not knocking Jey. I think Jey could be WWE champion. He's that over. I think he easily could win that belt, but it does feel lesser than, like every story, every major event, every TV show, it's what's Cena doing? Is Cena going to be here? What's happening with his title? Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble, goes for the secondary belt in the opening match of WrestleMania. Like that already in just make, why? Because Punk needed the main event. Like, you're literally saying that Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, and I don't disagree with this, but you're saying that those three guys just straight up wrestling each other is more important than what's supposed to be one of your highest top 2 championships you can win in the company.
And you can even make the argument that with the 2 women's titles that you have 4 main championships and you still chose to put on a triple threat match at WrestleMania as the main event. Now, my argument is if you're going to bend over backwards to make that the main event anyway, put that on night 2 where that would have been the happy ending to WrestleMania instead of putting that on night 1 where if you were going to do the angle, put the WWE title on that. But theoretically, you should have at least both nights should be closed out by title matches.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the traditionalists in us. But also, I mean, I saw people all over the internet who were like, how do you win the Royal Rumble and not main? Like, none of the Royal Rumble, right? The women's Royal Rumble winner did not main event, and the men's Royal Rumble winner did not main event.
No, that was both main events were set up other ways. Cena won the Elimination Chamber. That's how he was able to get his title match. So, yeah, both of them. And that sucks. And what match did the women's Royal Rumble go out? She was just the middle of night 2? Well, no,
I
it was
think
night
so.
1.
No, it was night 1.
Yeah, it was night 1. It was Tiffany versus Charlotte. I thought that was the worst match on both nights.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's just like, so now not only are you saying that just there are wrestlers who are more important than belts, which listen, that's the reality of it. I get it. There are like superstars nowadays are bigger than a championship and they're bigger than the typical wrestling tropes. But not only are you saying now that your heavyweight title is not as important as these 3 guys, it's also not as important as the WWE title because that gets to main event the actual final night of WrestleMania. And you're saying the Royal Rumble, kind of not that important because it's going to be first match of the night and like the placeholder for the bathroom break, basically. Like, so you're diminishing so much more than just a title when you don't allow things to go the way they've always gone,
Yeah, and I completely agree. And you can't do that. you got to figure out a way to make that. And, you know, you could argue like, oh, well, it's WrestleMania. Every match is important, which is true. You kind of do set it up that way. And but you've always had it where there was like sub main events, but we always just kind of understood that the titles go on last. I mean, and how many WrestleManias, and maybe they're just trying to avoid this. You didn't this time, where like it was such a deflating ending to WrestleMania because the title match was forced to go on last when they were just trying to get an angle over. But
Yeah.
you still do that. So I don't even know how to argue that.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing, right? So you look historically, and it's like, okay, so Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins is more important than the Royal Rumble winner getting his title shot or her title shot. But Shawn Michaels, Undertaker isn't the better story than Triple H, Randy Orton at 25.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of WrestleMania matches that the title wasn't on the line. And they, to be fair, they did learn their lesson because the following WrestleMania, they made sure that was the main event. But
They did.
like you historically, it was just always the belt goes on last, the belt goes on last. So now you're going to change that. You just have to understand that that kind of makes the belt feel secondary, specifically the heavyweight championship. Now, Jey Uso, I think, is making it a bigger deal than Gunther unfortunately did. And I think that's not Gunther's fault. I think he's just, they didn't know what to do with him. For his IC run, they knew exactly what to do. They kind of lost him in the shuffle as soon as he won that belt. So hopefully Jey can restore that title back to meaning something and being something people want and being something people feud over instead of just being literally the secondary title in the company.
Yeah, I completely agree. They got to figure something out, but they're doing a good job. Like I think with Jay, so I agree with you on that, and it's making it seem bigger. But not getting a title match on Backlash does kind of make it feel a little less than two.
Yeah, and I think that's again the problem is it's again double-edged sword. You go to the one title format, right? Let's just say they only had the WWE title. Where do all these other guys go? Like you have such a stacked lineup that it's really difficult to see the pushes. You know, we kind of saw it. How many people did Roman beat because there was only one champ? There were two belts, but he had both. So it was like Kevin Owens got a run, and meanwhile everyone was kind of held back. Sami Zayn got a run, but everyone else was. And you just kind of had a line of people waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. This secondary belt does allow you to have a dual main event scene, basically. The problem isn't the wrestlers. The problem is kind of like the storytelling with it all. Like they just don't tell stories that make this title feel as important as the other one.
No, they don't. And it was introduced that way. Like we had to make a new title because Roman was too busy beating all the other talents. So we need to introduce another new world title that everyone else can compete for. So the whole thing was like you said earlier, it was Seth Rollins is going to be like, we're going to make this one the champion where he's always on TV, the workhorse title. Like this is going to be the real world title. And it just hasn't, you know, they haven't treated it like that.
No, and it's been challenging, and I get it. It's hard. I mean, listen, not knocking them at all because I still love WWE. I still love what they're doing. I
Oh yeah.
nothing but respect and love for all the wrestlers, the creative team. It's a lot of TV. It's a lot of stories. It's a lot that you have to handle. I think there's just little things that they can kind of tweak, just small things to make it feel more like this does matter. You know, the fact that you have like Brock Lesnar, you build as this insane beast, and he goes for the WWE title. Roman Reigns' legendary run is really the WWE title. Cody Rhodes returns, and his finish the story is for the WWE title. John Cena's heel turn is for the WWE title. Meanwhile, Gunther was world heavyweight champion, and who did he? I don't even remember who he beat during his run. Like he hasn't had like superstars fight him for it.
No, I don't remember who he was feuding with throughout his. It's not hasn't been that long.
And that's what I mean. Like what they should have done is had like, now Seth Rollins is going for it. That'll help. Sami Zayn, if he goes for it, that will help. If you bring Punk in and Punk goes for it, you need to bring some of those bigger name people and have them fight for it, because then that's how you fix it. You can't have the most over guy win it and then not have a line of people to fight. Like Cody wins it finally, and there was a laundry list of people he had to face, of superstar people he had to face.
Yep. And
They
then
need,
he had his big year run with that belt.
yeah, and now they need Jay to do it. Jay needs not Logan freaking Paul.
No. No, that doesn't help anything. And he doesn't show up every week either. And I get it because he does whatever the hell he does, and I hate him. But at least he wrestles good.
Yeah, great wrestler. He's listen, great heel character, and but again, it's part time, and I think that's another problem. Is like there's so many part time guys. There's so many guys that just don't show up and I get it. It's a hectic schedule, and they're trying work life balance to be a little better for these guys, but like imagine you watching your favorite TV show and, like, I don't know, everyone loves like The Walking Dead, right? And in the early days, imagine there were just episodes where like Rick wasn't there because the actor just didn't feel like it. He was tired and went home.
I know it, and it does, and I get it. They have to probably balance the schedule as the writers and everything, but that just makes things feel a little bit empty when you go to watch a show, and then the next week, like you were excited. It's been a week, like, and you're like, oh, we're not going to capitalize on that storyline until next week.
Yeah, and it's just again, it's like it's storytelling at its heart, and the reason I think it works for us to talk about too on here, it's storytelling. Just like movies, just like TV shows, it's all storytelling. It's scripts, it's actors, it's telling stories on television, and to have your like to have your actors just be able to be like, I'm gonna take a couple weeks off from the show is like it doesn't make it really hinders storytelling unless you have guys like Randy. Cena's not there. Randy can carry it. He can cut promos and do stuff that help push it along. But not everyone's Randy Orton.
I mean, but then there's Roman Reigns. I love Roman Reigns, but he doesn't actually have like real feuds anymore because he only pops up like once during the entire month to build a match.
Yeah, and like that's everything I read about Raw last night about the ending was, oh, Seth and Sammy and Braun, Punk came out and did, and then they're like, and Roman's lurking somewhere, and it's like that's Roman's gimmick is he he comes in, does a feud, bangs out a pay-per-view match, goes home for 6 months, waits until it's the right time, comes back, has a pay-per-view match, then goes back home, and he just lurks and just waits, and like I love Roman. Don't get me wrong. He's awesome. I love his character. Every time I think he's one of the best like expressionists in the ring.
He
Like his
is.
facial expressions and everything. I feel like he's awesome. And I can't even like as upset as I am, I can't be that mad at these people because if I could make as much money as they did
Oh,
and choose to only work 3 months a year, I would.
yeah, I'm analyzing, and we're both analyzing from the show's perspective. But as from the human's perspective, I'll never take anything away from it because exactly, if I'm being offered a job, like, hey, we'll give you this amount of money, just show up these dates, I'd be like, hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's been a thing since like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. They always said we're out to make money, and when they made the jump to WCW, they're like the schedule was half, dude. Like I'm making more money and I'm working half the amount of days. Like I get to be home, I get to relax a little bit more.
What do
Like
you
that's the
always
human
hear,
side.
man? In the amount of years we've been watching wrestling, it's a business. Like we love it from fans, but I think everybody who works in there, they seem to understand that, like, as much as the fucked up shit that we kind of complain about, they seem to get it.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's the most important part is like we sit here as fans and analyze and critique things and, but at the end of the day, the human side of it is if I were a writer for WWE and had to write, well, how much is it? Like 8 hours of television between, it's probably even more than that because there's SmackDown, there's Raw, there's NXT, there's that Evolve thing. There's
Yeah.
so many stories, but let's just say it's 8 hours. If I had to do that every single week, plus you have people who don't work every show. You have people who get injured. You have people not getting over, so you have to adjust their character. Like that's a lot, dude. So I get it. So just so everyone understands, we definitely are not here to just shit on the show and complain about everything. This is just a fan's critical perspective, but the human side of it could never imagine the amount of pressure the writing team is on, the creative team is on, and the guys and girls who do the wrestling who have to travel so much to bump in that ring every night. Like super difficult stuff to do. We don't do it, obviously. So no judgment on that part. Just from a fan's point of view, there's things that should just to push it into that next level. There are some changes that could be made. I don't know how you make them because I'm not the subject matter expert, but I could tell you there's a couple things that are just need a little adjusting.
Yeah, I agree. They just think a little bit more work. Will pay attention to a little bit more things. But yeah, I think you're right though when you say that like that. It's like I don't know how they split up the writing teams, but I imagine having to do this amount of it never stops. There's Raw, there's NXT, there's SmackDown. Sometimes there's a pay per view. You got to continuously be writing. Things happen on the fly. You got to adjust, and regardless, you have that TV time. You got to go out there and do something.
Yeah, and so much intertwines too that like, you're writing a story and at its heart is, we want to get to Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins at Backlash. How do we get there? We have four Raws. We have the actual pay-per-view, but we also have CM Punk in the background. How do we incorporate him? And we really are in kind of like a glory days of wrestling where there's just so many superstars and there's so much access to it and it's being run. I mean, I personally think Triple H he's done such a good job of listening to fans and giving us the things that we want. But as with anything, I mean, stuff that I do at my job is imperfect. You're constantly changing things and adjusting and figuring out, oh, that didn't work. Let's try again. But it's a lot, dude. It is just so much that goes into wrestling. It's such a production. Um, I give everyone a lot of credit for it because it's a lot.
It's not easy, and that's one thing. Like I see people complaining about, like the K Fable thing. Like we love it, like that show that's coming out and it's exploring all the backstage. I love that kind of thing. I like it when it comes to movies too. I just like it makes it seem better to me. Like experiencing it from that angle, like how much of a production it is. It makes me appreciate it more. Appreciate the work that these people do because when you watch it just as a TV show, you might think it's really easy, but there is a lot of work that everybody like. Each match has its own producer like that. There's a lot that goes into that. I always find those stories cool, like because back in TNA we like the Biss, and it's funny to find out that he's like one of the big backstage producers now.
Yeah, and they love him too. He's done a lot of really high level matches for them, and they love it. And I think you're right. Even like we've talked about it, every movie discussion I've been on for you for the channel too. I feel like we're critical of things, but I'm always sure both of us agree that to say like at the end of the day though, this is someone's project. Someone worked really hard to write this script. Somebody worked really hard to direct this. There are cameramen and set crew and actors and actresses who poured their heart and soul into this. So yeah, we might not like it and it might not be the greatest thing we've ever seen from a critical perspective. From the human side of it though, the amount of work that goes into this stuff, and I think that's the big thing. Wrestling for so long protected behind the scenes. And there have been documentaries, and Beyond the Mat was like the first one I feel like that really exposed the business, if you will. But now I think seeing all this stuff gives you an appreciation where you can still be a critical fan and be like, I don't like that, like we're doing here. But you also have that other side of you that's like, even though I don't like it, holy crap, look at how much work went into this.
Yeah, it's the whole production. It's a beautiful show, everything, and like yeah, like it sucked that Rhea Ripley wasn't on Raw yesterday, but now you can experience the human side of her. She's freaking down in Australia promoting the shows going there, and that's awesome. Like you can do that now. You don't got to hide her. Like, no, she's a
Yeah.
monster. We keep her hidden in the back somewhere, and we only truck her out on Raws.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about the time we're living in is I think we can appreciate it. I think sometimes fans are so critical of it and they're like so protective of it that they're really just mean about it. Like we dunked on Becky's promo and like it was horrible. But I'm not saying Becky's horrible. I'm just saying, hey, like we've all been involved in things where we're like, that wasn't my best work. Like, and that's all we're saying. That was not Becky's best work. Hopefully she can recover. But human side of it, she went out in front of what, 14,000 people, 15,000 people. Like, I think I would have pissed my pants just walking down the ramp. So,
Yeah.
there's give and take with it.
Yeah, you got to understand it from their perspective too. And exactly, everyone out there, I'm sure everyone out there on the internet seen some people who you love do some bad videos and do some good videos. It's just you're a human being. Not everything can be 110%. It's what makes the special ones stand out though.
Yeah, those people who can go out there and really like carry a segment or carry a show, those and those are the WWE title guys. Those are the ones that can go out there and they do the Good Morning Americas and they do, Rhea's so over, like you said, she's just promoting right now because that's where her value is. Like she awesome in-ring talent, has phenomenal matches, great character, great gimmick, great music, the whole nine yards. But right now, where she's valuable to the company is promotion because her being in Australia and being from Australia, that's going to get people in. Not, I mean, people are already interested, obviously, but that's just the cherry on top.
Yeah, there's gonna be some guy who just saw her yesterday, like, oh my god, she's gonna be there. I don't even like wrestling, but I'm gonna go see Rhea.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly, exactly. And I think that's huge. That's great. And I think that's, where we are in the wrestling business is really, it's positive because now there's so much more to it than just like, we talked last week about the WrestleMania 9 documentary. Like, and those guys hide, they literally were hiding. They didn't like the camera there. When they fly in, they couldn't fly in with their friends. They had to only fly in with people who were good guys or bad guys. Walking through the airports, they had towels on their head and were like, it was so circusy where it was like no one can know anything. But now we all know, and people are allowed to just be themselves. And I think that's huge. It's awesome for the superstars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the argument was like, yeah, everyone knows that actors act in movies, and we know that they're not those people. There's some stupid people who don't realize, but you can't fix that. That's a little bit different. But like for the most part, we've always known that like that they're just playing a role. Why could we ever think about that with wrestlers too? And when you watch the production, you're like, yeah, they do the exact same thing.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It's a good, I don't know. I feel like we always end our conversations on this, but I feel like it's a really great time in the wrestling business. And I think even though we come on here and review the shows, I mean, listen, when we review movies, we're very honest about that too. And sometimes we say things that are mean. I mean, I remember when I watched the whole Star Wars series because you and Matt were doing it and I was jumping in. I remember not really liking much of it. And I got burnt for that a lot. But it's just an opinion. Doesn't mean I think that they were poorly made or that everyone involved, can't write or can't act. Not
It's
my
just
cup of tea.
now people I feel like, especially on the internet, get lost on what the word subjective means. Like, everyone has their own personal taste and things that they like, and people can appreciate things but still not enjoy them. Like that's fine. Like you can't force somebody to like something. Like it just doesn't work that way. Think of a food. Like you could be sitting next to a guy and he loves it. He's covered in tomatoes and pickles. I'm looking at it like that's fucking disgusting, but this person absolutely loves this. And why would I rob them of that? Like just because I disagree? And unfortunately, people just can't understand why people disagree with them on certain things. It's the way the world works, man. We're all different. We all come from different parts of the world, and it all has an effect on us. It's not that hard to understand, but some people just can't do it.
Yeah, some people can't, but that's why I think I like to have these discussions. Hopefully people see that even though we are critical of things, I like to think we're pretty unbiased and we're just giving honest feedback on things and not knocking people, not trying to, bully anyone or whatever. It's just more like an honest feedback. Listen, this was a good one. This was not so good. We'll see if you recover next week. I mean, it's the same thing with sports too. Like, if a team gets a big win, especially in the New York market. My God, if they win, it's great. If they lose, it's the end of the world. Sell the team and fire the coach and everything.
Oh my god, especially like with the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees made the World Series last year. The amount of times I hear people saying, "Oh, Aaron Boone needs to be fired." It's like, are you kidding me? The guy made the World Series. That's the same way with the movies. A lot of hard work goes into making a good movie, and also a bad movie. I say that all the time. It's a great quote from Bill Murray that if you make it, it takes a lot of hard work to make a good movie. It also takes a lot of hard work to make a bad movie. People don't realize that. It's
Yeah,
just hard.
100%. I mean, how many times I'm on a few reviews for this channel for movies that I didn't like, but again, it's not a matter of thinking that everyone who made the movie is not talented. I just watched it and was like, you know what? Not my cup of tea. I don't think this was done very well, but every movie I don't like, there's a million people who did like it. So it's not a judgment thing. It's just my cup of tea wasn't it.
Yeah, we just got to understand that we can all appreciate like a beautiful work of art, but just be like, you know what? I'm probably never gonna watch that again because it's just not for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, man. I definitely agree. But I think that's everything. Maybe you want to do some backlash preview or predictions?
Yeah, I
Before I
think as
sign
far as
off.
before we get out of here, I think as far as Backlash goes, I do think John Cena wins. I think Pat McAfee gets murdered in the ring in front of everybody.
Hmm.
And I do think Jacob Fatu still ends up defending that title as well. And Dominic Mysterio also, I think, will lose to Penta. Those are my early predictions. I'm sure they'll add to the card.
I agree with everything. The only area of concern I have is the Penta one. Honestly, I think Penta should win, but I don't know if the IC title adds to the Finn split up or not. So that's my only worry, is that maybe Dominic gets a win in a despicable way and we don't get the happy ending for Penta.
Maybe they're saving that up, but I think they got to give the crowd there something happy, because if I think Gunther's going to win, I think that Cena's going to win. Wouldn't the big happy moment be for the crowd Penta winning, because he's so over right now?
Yeah, I mean that's my opinion too, but I think that's how the card should go. Again, I agree with everything that you said. I think that's everyone who should win. But I'll just put a little asterisk next to the Penta match and say if he does lose, not surprised. He shouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either. That would definitely not be an out of nowhere loss, and it would definitely be. I'm sure they would keep him not losing clean. It'd be shenanigans with the Judgment Day. It's just I hope they don't go that route,
Yeah.
but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah, but that's unfortunately I gotta bounce. So that's gonna do it for me.
All right, guys. So make sure you guys remember Dennis will be here. Same. We're going to be doing this every week. This is the regular schedule. So next Tuesday at 7:30, we'll be talking wrestling till 9 o'clock, and we got Backlash to cover. So make sure you guys are here next week for that. And say goodbye to Dennis.
Hey, goodbye. Thanks for having me again. I'll talk to you guys. Have a great week.
All right, Dennis. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, see you later.
Bye. All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the wrestling talk. I love doing that each and every single week as a big wrestling fan that I am. I know a lot of you guys probably stuck around to see for this week's digital code giveaway and for the physical media giveaway, which I'll show you guys right now. So if you guys are a channel member, producers, or higher, we do a physical media giveaway each and every single month for our channel members, whether it be producers or a channel director or a channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato, who's in the chat. So every month I try and do one of these physical media giveaways. This month, up for grabs is Pulp Fiction, Lost Boys, the Weird Al Yankovic story. This movie's pretty good. Good 4K. Crank on 4K, one of those Lionsgate 4K steelbooks. Color Out of Space. The Ring, which is just a Blu-ray, but it's a nice Blu-ray. Blu-ray steelbook. Nosferatu on 4K Blu-ray. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And then, of course, 2012. So if you guys win this giveaway, you will have your choice of those. I also made some cards for the digital code giveaway to try and show you guys what we got going on here. Because what do we got? One. Just going to add those. See, like those are going to be the digital code giveaway stuff. Those are what's up for grabs right now. Just want to make sure we got a couple more. And I could always send these to you guys too. I'm trying to get better at doing that. But bad news on the song for the digital code giveaway and for the physical media giveaway. In the Good Life got me a copyright claim last week, so we can't use that song anymore on YouTube for some reason. It's being claimed, so I had to remove it from the video if you guys go back and watch it, which is extremely unfortunate. So we're going to do the channel members giveaway first. Let me share this with you guys. We'll screen share. Share screen. Let's see. So this is the channel members wheel. You can see everyone who's a channel member, producers, or higher is right here on this wheel. Now I got to just make sure that the volume is off on it, unfortunately. We'll shuffle around a little bit more. And where is the volume on this thing? Close ads. I'll probably have to do it this way, right? We have to probably customize it. Yep, here it is, the volume. Bring it down to 0%, guys. Bad news, Brown. But anyway, let's get right into it and see who our physical media giveaway winner is. And then if you guys do win, you can reach out to me and I'll be mailing this out next Tuesday, probably. But let's spin the magic wheel to see who our lucky winner is. All right, it's spinning. So I'll just do commentary on this one because I can't. That's unfortunate about the song. Yeah, not very happy about it, Mr. Smelly Potato. I mean, I've had that song on here since the show started. People love that song. I don't know. If I could reach out to the band, I would want to tell them, like, I want to keep your song. Oh, look at that. Congratulations, Uncle V. Uncle V, actually a buddy of mine too, so I'm really happy to see him get that win. Congratulations, Uncle V, if you're in the chat. This is actually the first time you've ever won anything on the channel, so that's pretty cool for you too to get your first win in anything. I really do appreciate that, your support, buddy. And yeah, I'll reach out to you so you can pick out one of your physical media releases. And now let's do the digital code giveaway. If you guys know how this works, I do one every single week. And if you guys answered one of the questions on YouTube, then you will have your name put on this magic wheel that we're going to put on the screen right now. Make sure you guys look at the wheel because sometimes I do forget names, and that's not your fault. You shouldn't be punished for that. I got to turn the volume off on this. Okay. Just make sure everything looks good, and then we'll go full screen on this one. And we'll spin the magic wheel. So yeah, if you guys saw the digital codes that you have your options for today, they'll be on the screen. And everybody who's joining in now to see the digital code giveaway and the physical media giveaway, I thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Just a reminder that the Q&A show, our regular old-fashioned Q&A show, will be this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can either ask questions there. I got some questions from everyone already. I'm really looking forward to that. Looks like it's going to be Rogue 1277. Congratulations, buddy. It's been a while since you've won too. We're going to remove your name from the magic wheel, and then we will spin it one more time. See who gets it the second time. I'll just do the voice. I'll just do the music myself in my own words. Right. Where's the wheel spinning to? Nobody knows. It can land on anybody. Maybe Brian or Cat Daddy Carnage. Who knows? Oh, looks like it's going to be Cat Daddy Carnage. All right. That's James. Congratulations, James. Actually, James, I always tell the story, but I'll tell it again. James is literally one of the longest subscribers to the channel. Like when I had like 100 subscribers, James was subscribed and entering into the giveaway. So he's one of the longtime members, which is awesome to see him still entering into the giveaway every single week. I don't see my name, Mr. Smelly Potato. You're not on there? Well, that is not good. Let me see. Ooh. Let me put it into sort. No, you weren't on there. I must have removed your name somehow. Well, Mr. Smelly Potato, you know how that works. You could always, I'll send you a code right now. So just make sure you email me, buddy, and I'll send you a digital code, especially since you're a channel member. That makes it a lot easier because that is my fault. I'm looking at the wheel right now. You guys can see it. I don't see, I put it in alphabetized order, and I don't see Mr. Smelly Potato on there. See, guys, I do make mistakes. I am human. But yeah, when that happens, the rule always is if you entered into the giveaway and your name wasn't on the wheel, well, you get a digital code for free because I'm an idiot. It's always how it goes. I'm not stingy like that. I will never, when I make mistakes, which do happen because, again, one person, and plus, I don't like to hoard things. You know, I like to give things away. I don't mind doing that. And eventually, you guys can probably even see it behind me. I keep building that collection of movies up of my doubles, and eventually I will give that away as well to someone on the channel. So we'll work that out as well. We're moving on 5,000 subscribers. There'll be a giveaway for that also. Just haven't decided yet. I'll probably talk to the, like Mr. Smelly Potato or Frank or, Uncle V. I'll see what they think of as far as like a 5,000 giveaway kind of thing and like what I should do for that. It's always good to get input because if I just make all the decisions, things happen and I might not be the right decision. But that's the thing, Kevin Kruger, like if I can ask the channel members like what they think is always the best plan to go, they always give me such great ideas. Like yesterday, I filmed my top 10 Will Ferrell films for Mr. Smelly Potato. I'm looking forward to you guys seeing that. But, that's an idea that I maybe wouldn't have come to without his help. So I always appreciate the support and ideas, even criticism. No one has to ever feel bad about giving me criticism. Feedback, believe it or not, on YouTube is very helpful. It's the only way we can improve is if people tell us we're doing something wrong. It's just when you shout into the abyss very mean things that people aren't going to respond well to, but you can always, give me as much feedback as possible. I can change things around, or at least do the best I possibly can. But I'm human like you guys. I'm learning as I go. Always, I'm always trying to improve, and that's the only way I can do it. It's why we're always trying new videos and stuff here on the channel as well. Just see what gets over and see what people like. I live to please. But anyway, this is going to be it for me here today. If you want the digital code giveaway, reach out to me. Mr. Smelly Potato, reach out to me. Uncle V, you can reach out to me. I will reach out to you if I don't hear from you, because I don't know if you watched the live stream. But anyway, I'll also be back live this Thursday as far as videos go this week. Tomorrow on Wednesday is going to be a video that me and David did, kind of accidental. We kind of just ended up in this conversation about what makes a movie a masterpiece in our Commando podcast, which you guys will be able to see on Friday. Hard at work right now. I'm just getting a bunch of 4K Blu-ray reviews for next week. So next week, it's going to be loaded with 4K reviews because I got Blaxploitations Volume 1, A Fistful of Dollars coming, and I'm supposed to be getting the Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, and, Jason X. So you'll get those reviews hopefully next week as well. So I'm going to be hard at work at those. So next week we're filled with 4K reviews, but I hope you guys enjoy Commando on Friday because me and David had a lot of fun with that. And the video tomorrow, I want you guys feedback on as well. So anyway, thank you guys for being here with me. I hope you guys enjoyed the morning. Rogue One just turned in and won a digital code. That's awesome. Isn't that always cool when that works out? And obviously, Rogue One, you know how to reach out to me. Just Instagram message me which one of the codes you want. Let me pop them up on the screen one more time so you guys can actually see them. So these are some of them. And then there's always a few more I have floating around. And every time I get any new piece of like physical media that comes with a digital code, we'll always pop those in as well. And if you want to give away and you don't see anything you like, sometime down the line, you like ask me if I'm getting a movie, I could always send you one of those digital codes as well. I'll keep you updated on like what movies I get coming in, and if they come with digital codes, always ask. I can always give you guys more information. Just messaging me is always the best way to go. And if I don't respond, just message me again. Eventually I will. Sometimes I miss things. But anyway, guys, I hope you have a great day, a great Tuesday. And I'll be seeing you guys around. And for next live stream, see you guys Thursday at 7 o'clock for the Q&A show where it'll just be me. So enjoy your day, guys.